What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of the Transfer View. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of January, and there's plenty to discuss and get into when it comes to the world of transfers in the January transfer window for Manchester United. So I hope everyone is doing very well. Click the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and let me know where you're watching from. Obviously, it was a Flex solo yesterday morning. It's an Owen solo this morning as well. So you get me all to yourselves. I can just hear the people tuning out already. But how is everybody doing? I can see the chat filling up already. We've got a lot of different time zones in the chat this morning. Actually, we've got Nikhil saying evening all. We've got Kristen saying morning all. Got Captain Caveman saying good night all. I mean, I might as well wrap up the show. When it comes to all that. As Nikhil says, get the likes up early indeed. Avin says, Owen View, and Captain Caveman's watching from Aberdeen. It's one of my favourite things to do. I know it's very cliche, and I've probably said it like 10 million times here. But genuinely, it's one of my favourite things to do is know where people are watching from. I like that because I don't know what it is. It's something about, the sort of global UV community. It's always, sometimes when you're sitting here talking to the screen or you see the chat and all that kind of stuff, you forget people are watching from all over the world in all of these different time zones and all of these different cities and all of these different countries. And this is a throwback, actually. This is a throwback. I remember this is real early United View stuff, particularly for the solo shows. It used to be, where are you watching from? And what is the weather like? That used to be the one. Where are you watching from? What's the weather like where you are? This morning, where I am, very rainy. Very, very, very rainy, very grey, very dark. And I like winter. I do. You know me, guys, not much of an outdoors person. Not very gregarious. So when I see the weather like this, I don't really care that much. So sometimes it's quite nice to be quite sort of rainy, but it feels like there's been a lot of bad weather recently, hasn't there? There's been lots of... I feel like, is it me or is in the UK, I feel like every other day when I'm like tuning on to the news, it's about a storm, but like a different storm name. There'll be... I don't even know which one it is at the moment, but there's like, over the last like 2 or 3 weeks, there's been like 3 or 4 or something like that. It's crazy. It really is. Mark says, raining here too. United says, watching in Norway. Snowstorm and very cold. Oh, there you go. Wow's people saying. Nikhil says, used to watch from Fiji back in the day. Wayne says, watching from up north. It's wet and windy. Yeah, it very much is. DJ Vic's watching from Perth, Australia. 33 degrees. Wow. Daniel Luciano, cold and dark in Connecticut. We're getting 12 inches of snow this week. Connecticut, I mean, that is late for you, isn't it? That really is. You've got Bobby G, who's watching from Barbados. It's 5:04 a.m. and it's 24 degrees. See, this is what I mean. Ivan is watching from rainy in Seattle. No snow there. Isn't it always rainy in Seattle? Isn't that kind of the point? Yeah, look at this. We got everyone. Got Toby watching from Banbury. Hey, that's pretty close to home for me. Cape Town as well. Nikhil's actually now watching from New Zealand. Look at this. Unbelievable. The global community. But there's plenty to get into. We're not just going to be talking completely about the weather this morning. The weather this morning. We're going to be talking about Jadon Sancho as his loan move to Borussia Dortmund is entering key stages, according to Fabrizio Romano. We're talking a little bit about Erik Ten Hag wanting to retain influence over recruitment and transfers despite the INEOS acquisition and seemingly their influence over football operations. Certainly. We're talking a little bit about Thomas Muller. Apparently he's been watched by Manchester United. I mean, I'm not sure what there is to watch with him, considering that everyone knows him and everyone knows his career and record. But we'll talk a bit about that. Carlo Ancelotti has spoken on the rumours that Raphael Varane could be heading back to Real Madrid. And of course, yesterday as well, we saw Sergeant Ratcliffe visit Old Trafford for the first time since the INEOS acquisition was announced. So there's plenty to get into this morning. Be sure to click the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. I'm still looking at all of the locations. Ghana, Atlanta, London, Michigan. It's look at this. And there's even a rogue Just Josh Media graphics guru, Visual Ninja, in the chat as well. He's always lurking. This is the truth when it comes to Josh. He's always lurking. You never know, but he's always lurking. That's just Shosh Media for you. Let's start off talking about Jadon Sancho. Fabrizio Romano has tweeted this morning saying the Jadon Sancho deal is already advancing to key stages. Sancho wants Borussia Dortmund and the German club want a deal to happen very soon. Talks are underway. Man United are now open to accept the loan, but they'll have to pay a part of Sancho's salary, plus Dortmund will have to pay a loan fee. It's also been reported by Paul Hurst from The Times, as well as, this is a great name, Dr. Konstantin Ekner. Now, that is fun. That just sounds like a supervillain, doesn't it? You know, who are you? Oh, I'm Dr. Konstantin Ekner, and this is my shrink ray, or something like that. It just, I like that name. They're saying that Borussia Dortmund have offered to pay around a third of Jadon Sancho's wages as part of their loan deal. The Athletic also reporting it remains to be seen what proportion of Jadon Sancho's salary Borussia Dortmund are prepared to cover during a 6-month loan, but Manchester United are willing to make a, quote, significant contribution. Sancho is keen on a return to Dortmund on loan. The two clubs have been negotiating over a loan fee and salary coverage. So this Sancho one looks like it's going to happen. I read a piece from Laurie Whitwell yesterday, and he was saying that because obviously, Sancho's exit in January was really the top priority. Let's face it, he's the highest paid player at Manchester United. The situation is beyond repair, seemingly, with himself and Ten Hag. And to be honest, him and the club. So he was always going to be top of that priority list. And Dortmund was the logical place for him to return. But wherever he was going to go, wherever he is going to go, let's say this Dortmund one collapses and he has to go elsewhere, these are the parameters that are going to have to be, in place for him to go. Because, and it's just typical United, isn't it, really? Because his wages are so astronomically high, one, we can't sell him until the summer, and then even in the summer, there's going to have to be a bit of give into getting him out the door because his wage is so high. And when it comes to January and it comes to the loan signing, well, of course no club's going to pick that up because they can't. They literally cannot do that. Borussia Dortmund cannot pick up Jadon Sancho for 375k a week. So United have to pay a part of his wages. We have to deal with the sins of the past, as I mentioned, for a lot of players. So initially, whilst all of the rumours suggested that he was going to go back to Dortmund, it was a little bit like, well, doesn't look like that's going to happen. There was rumours of possibly going to Juventus or something like that, and the reason it wasn't going to happen was because of the wages. But seemingly there's been a breakthrough when it comes to that, and the breakthrough is United going, well, okay, we'll pay 2/3 of his wages. If you can pay a third of that, which is what? I mean, a third of nearly 400k, still a significant amount of money, still over £100,000 a week, but that's just a third of his wages. It's very significant still, isn't it? So at this stage, I mean, it kind of all really exploded yesterday, didn't it? Because the first reports came out of Germany, came from Florian Plettenberg, then Patrick Berger, then Christian Falk. Everyone from Sky Sports in Germany was saying, these talks are happening, it's accelerating very fast. I mean, I think it was it either Florian Plettenberg or it might have been Patrick Berger. One of them from Sky Sports in Germany was saying that they expected Sancho to be in training camp possibly this week, which when I heard that, it reminded me immediately of the Harry Kane transfer to Bayern Munich in the summer when Florian Plettenberg went on Sky Sports. Remember, because Flex was on it at the time and I was watching it at the time, and he was very, very bold with him going onto Sky Sports in England, and he's went, Harry Kane's going to play in the Super Cup tomorrow. And the reaction at the time was, no way, what are you talking about? He's still a Spurs player. He was still on the fence about whether or not he was going to move. And next thing you know, next day, 24 hours later, Harry Kane's standing on a touchline. He comes on, he's a Bayern Munich player, and he's playing against RB Leipzig. So the fact that they're saying that, Dortmund's hope was that Sancho would be involved in the training camp later on this week, that's pretty significant. So this one is speeding up and getting quicker and quicker and quicker, seemingly by the minute. And I wouldn't even be shocked if you're looking at like a Romano, here we go for this. I wouldn't even be shocked if it's in the next couple of days. Honestly, to be honest with you, I'm being double honest with you there. If we got to like late tonight and it was, a here we go, I wouldn't be shocked with that. It's moving very quickly. obviously he's very keen to go back to Dortmund and to, revive his best form. And Man United, of course, are keen for him to go and to get at least something off the wage books and to move on, because it's not even just about the finances. It's about removing him from that situation. The longer that Jadon Sancho is around, and the current situation is as it is right now, where he is at Carrington, but he's with the academy players, and he has to dress separately, and he doesn't interact with the first team squad because I don't know about you, but I've seen those pictures on social media where they're like, Jadon Sancho was at Carrington today, and he posing with pictures of fans. You kind of forget that he is there. You forget that he's still there, he's still around, and he's still, reporting every day to Carrington and what have you. And that's just not a good situation for every party. It's like the breakdown, it is the breakdown of a relationship. Like, it's not working. You've just got to go your separate ways and just move on. And I've seen a lot of people, particularly with the bad form recently and the poor performances, be like, oh, get rid of Ten Hag and bring Sancho back. And I can't understand why that is, because if Erik Ten Hag got sacked tomorrow, and it was like, for whatever reason, we play Wigan on Monday, and embarrassment, humiliation, we go out the FA Cup, and INEOS get on the phone to the Glazers, go, no, it's not ratified yet, but get rid of him right now, boom, and he goes, I still don't want Jadon Sancho back. Like, it's done. The relationship is done. It's over. This situation, regardless of how you look at it or who you think is in the right or in the wrong, it's bad. Like, it's just, you cannot come back from that. Because look at, you can argue, Erik Ten Hag handled it badly, which I really don't think he did. Still, I think people have made this so over dramatic in their head and sort of convinced themselves that Erik Ten Hag said something more in that press conference after Arsenal than what he actually said. People have got really lost with that. But look at the situation when it came to Sancho. All he had to do was apologise after posting something on social media, and he's refused, and he's, for lack of a better term, not gone on strike because he's still at Carrington, but it's a bad situation. That kind of behaviour, that kind of mentality cannot be tolerated. And in addition to that, it's one thing if he was like Ballon d'Or, best player at Manchester United in his tenure, and it's working really well, and you go, he's just making a stand against the manager, he's our best player, all that kind of stuff, but he wasn't. The move in general hasn't worked out for him. On top of that, there have been those rumours about, lateness, lack of professionalism, whatever. Park that, whether you believe that or not. Just this instant in question, that kind of behaviour just can't be tolerated. It cannot. So it's not worked out. He goes out on loan. In the summer, he goes out permanently. Even if Erik Ten Hag's not the manager at that point, which I'm kind of leaning to the fact he probably won't be at this point. If he's not, still, that kind of sort of mentality, that kind of behaviour, it's just not worked out. Got to go away. Can't be bringing that back in, because if you bring Sancho back in, whether it's Ten Hag that brings him back in or whether it's a new manager that brings him back in, what kind of message does that send to the group of players? It didn't work out with the old guy, and there was a big blow up, and it was in the public eye and all that kind of stuff, but don't worry about it, it's fine now. You go, well, when that happens again with either Sancho or another player, that's on you, because you said that kind of behaviour is acceptable. It's not. You just got to move on. Hasn't worked out. And let's face it, when Sancho, when he goes to Dortmund, he'll probably do well. Because Sancho's not a bad player. Of course he's not a bad player. I think there's issues he needs to work on when it comes to his mentality. And I think that he has to be in an environment where, I would say mollycoddle, because I don't think that's the right word. But he has to be in an environment where he's protected and, and I'm trying to think what the best word is. You can probably let me know in the chat what the best word is for this. But it has to be an environment where, protected by the managers and the staff and the players and the club. And he's got quite a lot of, it's not as strict on him, and he kind of is the sort of focal point of a lot of things, and he's the star sort of franchise player and all that kind of stuff, right? That's the environment that he needs. And at Manchester United, he ain't going to get that. He had that at Borussia Dortmund. And look, even when he was at Dortmund, there were still similar things of, he's been scapegoated for bad performances and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes it don't work out. A lot of the times it don't work out when you go to Man United, but it hasn't worked out for Jadon Sancho. So this loan move's the best for him, because think how much his career in general has fallen off over the last 2 years or so. I mean, when we signed him, he was in the England squad. He was playing at the Euros. He wasn't still playing as much for England, but he was in the Euro squad. Now he's nowhere near the international squad. I mean, the Euros are coming up this summer. I mean, I'll put it in the chat actually. Do you think Jadon Sancho? I mean, I'll probably put a bit of a caveat on this, but if Jadon Sancho has a good second half to the season at Dortmund, do you think he gets in to the England squad at the Euros? I'll put it in the chat. If Sancho does well at Dortmund, does he get into the England squad? Poll is in the chat when it comes to that one. If I was voting in it, I'd say no, because I'd almost look at it a bit like, and this is probably a bigger. This is a bigger situation because it's a bigger player at a bigger club. But remember when Jesse Lingard went to West Ham and on loan, and that was just before the last Euros, wasn't it? And he played really, really well, but eventually it came down to Gareth Southgate going, it was just a bit too little too late, and there were players ahead of him. I think it'll be the same when it comes to Jadon Sancho. I think that if he went to Dortmund and he did really well, I still think it would be a case of, too little too late, and there were just so many good players in that England squad. So even him playing on a regular basis in the Bundesliga, that might not be enough for him to get into the England squad. And sort of my longer-winded point about all of that is that's just how far he's fallen off. That's how far he is dropped off. And part of that is, of course, you go Man United and it doesn't work out. Look how many players that's happened with. But I don't think Jadon Sancho's not innocent in all of this as well. And this goes back to my sort of shades of grey analogy when it comes to football. Is like, it's all on Jadon Sancho or it's all on Man United. That's not the case at all. It's not all on one player, or it's not just on the club or anything like that. It hasn't worked out for a variety of reasons. But I don't think, and this is why I look at the situation in general, I think Jadon Sancho has to look to himself and not just think it's outside forces conspiring against him. I'm being scapegoated. The manager's got favourites. The manager does have favourites, absolutely. But also at the same time, you go, am I myself doing enough? Am I myself as a player, as a professional, doing enough? Am I at my best? Because are we really to sit here and believe that Jadon Sancho's been, first in, last out with training every single day, best player in training, far superior above everyone else. Performances on the pitch have been amazing. He had a good pre-season in a position where he wasn't, he's playing as a false nine for a lot of time. But at the same time, like I said, he just needs to move on. He just needs to move on and go in a different direction and really resurrect his career. And honestly, I really do hope that he resurrects his career, and I really do hope that it works out for him, because he's still a young player. He's still a young English player, and I want to see it work out because I'd like to see him do well for his country and play regularly for his country again. Whether or not he does, like I said, I think it's a bit of a long way back. And for all of the talk about, Bundesliga is a farmers' league, Bundesliga is very competitive this year. Bayern Munich, for signing Harry Kane and making all the signings they have, Bayer Leverkusen still haven't lost in the league. Xabi Alonso is doing amazing things. RB Leipzig are a tremendous team as well. So it's very competitive. Dortmund should have won the league last season, bottled it on the final day, and they've dropped off too. So it's going to be very, very competitive, certainly. We've got a super chat here from DJG, who has said, did you know INEOS own a third of Mercedes? I do. That's 3 owners on a 2-year plan for eventual to equal shares. Sounds familiar? 3 owners, Avram, Joel, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I believe, isn't it with Mercedes as well? Like a lot of the sort of sponsors and all this kind of stuff all are similar. There's a lot of synergy there. Like it's Snapdragon's involved. I think TeamViewer's involved and all this kind of stuff as well. So, very interesting. We're going to get to Sir Jim Ratcliffe a bit later on. But yes, that's the latest when it comes to Jadon Sancho, is that entering key stages according to Romano, and this thing is certainly heating up. And as I said, I wouldn't be shocked if we got Here we go in the next couple of days. By the end of the week, if they're saying they want Sancho in the training camp this week, then you would expect something to happen fairly quickly. And it's good for United that something happens fairly quickly. As far as a replacement, when it comes to that, I don't think so. It's just Man United this January transfer window. It's more about outgoings and incomings. I still do think we'll probably have a couple of incomings. There'll probably be loans. They won't be players really to write home about. It's going to be last year's January transfer window all over again, which was Weghorst and Sabitzer. Probably something like that again as well. We might get a striker on loan, possibly if someone goes down with like a major injury, something like that. But I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be something like that. So there you go. What else are people saying here in the chat at the moment? Granley says, how you feeling, bro? Much better. Thank you very much. Yes, horrible. I tell you what, anyone that's had the norovirus over Christmas, and anyone that's had the norovirus over Christmas, or just had it in general, rough. Really, really rough. I know there's been a lot of illness going around Carrington at the moment. No joke, really. That is no joke whatsoever. How many people we got watching at the moment? We've got 750 people watching. How many likes? 112 likes. If you haven't already clicked the like button, be sure to subscribe as well. We're less than 500 subscribers to go into 160,000. Oh, look at that. 160,000. So if you haven't already subscribed. And look, we're just one away from 159,560. If you're like me, and that's just like, I could just knock that up to 560. Just knock it. Just knock it up if you haven't already. Let's move on. Let's talk about Erik Ten Hag wanting recruitment influence. Well, I'll tell you what, it would be good. It'd be good if I got that title looking actually in the right place, wouldn't it? What a disgrace and a cheat that is. This comes from Rob Dawson from ESPN, who says that Erik Ten Hag wants to retain his influence in Manchester United's recruitment decisions once Sir Jim Ratcliffe's minority investment in the club is ratified. He has held a veto on all transfers in his contract since arriving in 2022. Now, Erik, I would say when it comes to this, I would go, Erik, maybe we need to sit down and have a chat, about that whole sort of recruitment thing, Erik. It's not really working out with you at the helm, is it? Because if I was Jim Ratcliffe, if I was Sir Dave Brailsford, if I was whoever's coming into our recruitment, if I was Dan Ashworth, if I was Paul Mitchell, if I was whoever, I would sit down and go, okay, how has this worked in the past? And Erik could go, well, it's been me and John. I've had a veto. I've had a veto on all the transfers. He's had a veto on all of the transfers, and we feel like that's worked quite well. We have a good relationship, and yeah, it's going quite well. I would go, okay, let's have a look at your signings. Let's have a look at your signings and see how it's worked. Okay, let's have a look. And we got here Anthony, £85 million. No one thought to veto that? No. Okay. Casemiro, got him on a 5-year contract, or 4 years plus 1, didn't you? Yeah. No one thought to veto that one, no? No. Okay. We've got here Rasmus Højlund, young player potential. Yeah. How much? 72 million. 72 million pounds. Yeah. Okay. Mason Mount. Yeah. 55 million pounds. Yeah. Was it last year of his contract? Yeah. How many games has he played at the moment? Not many. Not many. Yeah. So I don't know. I think you could argue, in fairness, when it comes to some of those ones, and some of them have been all right. Lisandro Martinez. You could put probably Andre Onana down there, and you go, Andre Onana, yeah, how much was that for? Yeah, he was a free transfer a year ago. Yeah. Now, you could argue that if Erik Ten Hag has a good recruitment structure around him, and good recruitment people around him, and a good head of recruitment, a good director of football, or sporting director, whatever title they're given, and Ten Hag goes to him, I want a striker, I want Rasmus Højlund, then an effective sporting director, an effective head of recruitment doesn't sign Erasmus Højlund for £72 million. He signs him for 55, or manages to bring those prices down. Or it goes to Anthony and they want 85 million. They go, that is taking the piss. Absolutely no way. No, not doing that. So it's not necessarily the prices so much. Maybe it's more the case of Erik Ten Hag clearly has a desire. It's become a bit of a running joke, hasn't it? With he likes players that are from either the Eredivisie or he's worked with in the past, or he knows like personally. You know, that would be a problem. That would be an issue. I mean, we can go through the team, and I know you can't believe every story that you read when it comes to transfer links with United, because sometimes, you know, it's just easy. It's easy to write a story about United. It's easy to write a story about Ten Hag, about a player that he likes because he used to play for Ajax or was in the Eredivisie. But, you know, when you've got Onana, obviously worked with him in the past. Martinez, worked with him in the past. Sofian Amrabat, worked with him in the past. Mason Mount, it goes, I liked him because of when he played in the Netherlands. Anthony, worked with him in the past. Wout Weghorst, he was Dutch. He knew him quite well. I mean, he was going to get Arnautovic, worked with him in the past. You know, like those. Malacia as well. Well, there's the clip. Write his name down. So when it comes to that kind of influence over recruitment, maybe you take that out of his hands. And I said this yesterday during the EAFC stream with Flex and KG. Be sure to check it out. It was a lot of fun yesterday. Everything, I think a super chat came in. Ericsson as well, worked with him in the past. It's everyone, near enough. I mean, who's the ones that he hasn't worked with? It's Casemiro, Højlund. Is that it in terms of permanent transfers? I know the loans and stuff like that, because you could go, wow, Sabitzer and Reguilon and all that. But is that Johnny Evans? Okay, maybe, and work with him, I guess. But, yes. I mentioned this yesterday during the EAFC stream. It's nearly as bad KG with fever. That someone put a super chat and they said, are you Erik Ten Hag in or you Erik Ten Hag out? Alem says he never worked with Ericsson. Well, he did he knew Christian Eriksen personally, because when he after his heart trouble, he trained with Ajax, and Erik Ten Hag was the manager of Ajax at the time, wasn't he? So he did train with him. You're wrong. Yeah, someone asked if are you Erik Ten Hag in? You're Erik Ten Hag out. And I said I'm everyone out. Everyone out. That's my sort of stance on it. I'm not going to come on here and go, get rid of the manager. I've seen people on social media say, and this is so passing the buck for me, really passing the buck. When people say, get rid of the manager, and you go, oh, who, okay, you saying get rid of the manager, who should replace him? And they go, that's not my job. That's not my job. I'm just a fan. And you go, well, that's not very productive then, isn't it? That's not very productive of get rid of them. Because if we take that approach, if the club took that approach of, let's just get rid of the manager, who are we going to bring in? Well, I don't know, just get rid of him. That's no planning. And that's not productive. That doesn't help anyone. That doesn't help in the situation at all. Get everyone out. Get everyone out. Rip it down. Start it from scratch. Start again. Don't just I've used the analogy a million times before. We are a Jenga tower with all of these different blocks taken out, dividends every year, and it's falling apart. It's swaying like this. You're in the dying stages of the game, and we go, I know what will fix this. I know what will fix this Jenga tower. I'm going to take out this one brick here, which is the manager, and I'm going to put a new brick back in. Fixed. And it's still going like this the whole time. It's still about to crumble. No. Knock it down and brick by brick by brick, build it back up into something that can stand strong winds and can stand the test of time. And by knocking everything down, that means, which is hopefully what's going to happen with INEOS, which means take out the people that just shouldn't be at the club at an executive level. You know, your Richard Arnolds, your John Murtos, your entire recruitment department, your entire medical department, your scouting department, everything. And you build it brick by brick. You put in Jean-Claude Blanc. I mean, obviously, if we were going to really knock it down, you would say some of the biggest bricks, and it rhymes with bricks, the Glazers, get rid of them first. That's not going to happen, though, unfortunately. That's shit, but it's not going to happen. But you would say, right, put in a CEO that's got footballing experience at big clubs and big sporting projects. Jean-Claude Blanc. Okay, sporting directors, footballing directors. John Murtough, not worked out. He's just gone through the ranks at Manchester United, not worked out. Let's put in, so Dave Brailsford's another brick in there. Well, I don't even know what his official title will be, but he's on the board of directors, but he's in there. Right, let's get a sporting director, one that's got experience, Dan Ashworth. Let's get a head of recruitment, Paul Mitchell. Right, those people that are already in there, your Jean-Claude Blancs, your Paul Mitchells, your Dan Ashworths, your Sir Dave Brailsfords, who do they think is the right person to manage Manchester United? Who do they think is the right person to be the head coach of Manchester United? And it might not be Erik Ten Hag. It might not. And if they don't think Erik Ten Hag's the right guy, fine. You know, their prerogative, because I want everyone to be completely on the same page. I want everyone to be heading in the right direction. I want everyone to be the best in class, or at least the best in class for what we can get and all that kind of stuff. So if they don't believe Erik Ten Hag's the right guy, okay, I'm indifferent on that at that point, because at least I think Manchester United would be doing the right process the right way. I'd be very concerned about who the replacement would be. If they go, I think the right person to coach Manchester United is Graham Potter, I think I'll be sick. Because you could say, it just didn't work out at Chelsea. But, I mean, horrifically didn't work out at Chelsea. And those same people that would start going, what's Erik Ten Hag ever won? What's Erik Ten Hag ever done? And then are twerking for Graham Potter to come in. I think they need their head checked out. Because if you really want to use that argument, what has Graham Potter done? Apart from do stuff in Sweden and build up Brighton, which again, very well-run club. You know, look at the parallels there. Because people then start going, he did very well because he had a structure around him. That's Erik Ten Hag at Ajax. And he achieved more at Ajax. And he's won a trophy with Manchester United. So it's all about who actually the replacement would be. If it was a high-profile, high-quality coach with the right structure around him that's got a track record of winning things, then you can get on board with that. So that's when it comes to everyone out. And then, with those people that have come in and a possible new coach that's come in, then they look at that playing squad and they go, I tell you what, 80% of you. I know we can't get rid of all of you in this entire summer transfer window or even the next January transfer window, but over the course of the next couple of years, there is going to be a systemic getting rid of the majority of you. The majority of you are going. The majority of you aren't fit for purpose. The majority of you, if you really want to stay, you're going to have to take a massive pay cut and a massive wage cut. Otherwise, we're forcing you out because your wages are way too high and they're not fit for purpose. And we've got to change these things. And that can be anyone, by the way. I've said this a million times too. No player am I attached to. No player am I going to be like, no, got to keep them. Unless it's like an academy graduate who's like 18 or 19, i.e. a Kobe Mainu or an Alejandro Garnacho, that you go, right, there's potential there. We can build them up. They love playing for Manchester United. Apart from that, then I'm like, no, anyone can go. Bruno Fernandes, if a bid comes in, see you later. Marcus Rashford, see you later. You know, anyone, Casemiro, see you later. Martinez, probably would keep him. But anyone else, that's it. They can go. So people could say, it's a cop-out when you're saying everyone must go. I think that's entirely logical, saying everyone must go. I'm not saying everyone must go immediately. I'm not saying this is like Football Manager, go in, mod the game and be like, just get rid of everyone, start from scratch, new club. I'm saying that, again, you've got to do it bit by bit. You've got to do it logically. And I think sometimes when they just go, get rid of the manager, Erik Ten Hag out, and then you go, okay, what are we going to do next? That's not my job. Well, you'll be the same person complaining when Manchester United get rid of Erik Ten Hag with no strategy, with no direction, and then we're just wandering around, not doing anything, going, this club's not run properly. It has to be, Manchester United have done enough aimlessly knee-jerk reactions, just snap our fingers, hope something's fixed, quick fixes, band-aid football. I know Christmas is just gone, but that's what it's like. Stick a band-aid over it, it's fine, it'll be done. No, strategy, look in the right direction, have a long-term plan. And that long-term plan, by the way, might be in sort of the planning stages right now, and it might not involve Erik Ten Hag, but if it doesn't involve Erik Ten Hag, don't make the decision now, keep planning whilst he's in charge at the moment, and then maybe make that decision at the end of the season or something like that. Act like a normal club. Have a bit of planning. So that's where I'm at when it comes to it. And when it comes to the recruitment influence, I think if he were to stay, Erik Ten Hag, which who knows really what's going to happen at this point, if he were to stay longer term, I think that a huge amount of that recruitment influence would be taken away from him, and I think rightfully so, realistically. Not in the sense of like it was before, because you don't want to go completely in the other direction, a bit like when, for instance, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the manager at Man United, where he was basically, it felt like given players, here you go, we've signed this person, figure it out. But that whole, they're getting exactly the player, it's the manager's really driving it all. I think that would have to be pulled away from him a little bit, because that's what's made me laugh with this as well, is those people that are like, Erik Ten Hag should have nothing to do with recruitment, should be given to the United recruitment team. The United recruitment team's rubbish as well. That's why Erik Ten Hag was so insistent on having that influence over recruitment in the first place. So again, all of it needs to go. All of it needs to go. Another super chat here from DJG again says, it feels like Sir Jim Ratcliffe has done the same Mercedes pitch to the Glazers for eventual equal ownership. Not sure how the sponsorship works, but I read it was 3 owners, meaning the Glazers might be planning on 50%. I mean, what was interesting with all that kind of stuff, there was SEC filings, so certainly, wasn't there? And that led a lot more information, a lot more details. It's going to be interesting. I mean, again, we saw Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford have been at Old Trafford over the last couple of days. This summer is going to be really curious when it comes to United, isn't it? Really, really curious with what they do. Not even just transfers, but bigger than that, isn't it? Bigger than that, what they do when it comes to these executive appointments. Because they're almost the ones that I'm more excited about at the moment. Because if they lay a real strong, solid groundwork, and we know it's going to be Jean-Claude Blanc as the CEO, but if they do get Dan Ashworth and Paul Mitchell, and they have really overhauled the recruitment department, we know they're overhauling the medical department as well, then you can get quite, say, optimistic, because I still think there'll be a kind of a mindset of, well, we'll wait and see what happens with it, but there'll be a sense of, right, then maybe we can do something quite big. And by the way, like, it's not going to happen overnight as well. Like, just because these people are in place, it doesn't mean like we're gonna challenge for the league next season. No, but it will be somewhat refreshing to have maybe something of a forward-looking plan for Manchester United. Hopefully, Taberslow, remember for 18 months. Big up Taberslow. Says, big up Owen. Hope you were better and had a good holiday. People smashed the like button for the Owen show. Big up to David Lee and Just Josh Media, Graphics Guru, Visual Ninja. Also, big up to you, Taberslow. Appreciate 18 months of support. Big up to you, certainly. I'm going to close this poll, which was if Sancho does well at Dortmund, does he get into the England squad? 71% of you saying no. Only 29% of you saying yes. How many likes are we at as well? We're currently we've nearly got 900 people watching, less than 200 likes. We can do more. We can do better. We can build. So if you haven't already, click the like button as well. What we got next? Oh, United have watched Thomas Muller. We can be fairly quick, I think, when it comes to this one. So this comes from The Athletic. So it's not as if it's not, it's not as if it's not completely valid or anything like that. But according to a report from The Athletic, United scouts have watched experienced Bayern Munich attacker Thomas Muller this season. The German has been strongly linked with a move to Old Trafford over the last few weeks. I mean, he's been linked to a move to Old Trafford at least, 4 or 5 times in his career, it feels like. Either way, the experienced international is a highly versatile operator. He's capable of playing in various positions. He's fallen down the pecking order this season, making just 19 appearances in all competitions, several of which have been from the bench. I don't see this one happening. I mean, this is one of those ones. This is one of those ones that I don't really, I'm pretty sure he's been linked with United before he went to Bayern Munich. I think when David Moyes was in charge, he was linked then. I think in addition to that, he was linked when Louis van Gaal was at Manchester United as well, I think. So, yeah, I don't see that one. Just a bit of breaking news, actually, coming in the last couple of minutes. This comes from Nizar Kansella, who is the football correspondent for The Standard, is saying that Manchester United are interested in making Crystal Palace winger Michael Olise one of the first signings of the Sir Jim Ratcliffe era at Old Trafford. A move for Olise has been ruled out in January, but Manchester United have identified the winger as a transfer target ahead of a planned overhaul of their squad at the end of the season. Now, That is exciting. Just a couple other bits from this article actually as well before we circle back to Olise. So Dave Brailsford is leading an audit of the transfer structure at Manchester United, which will take time, but potential summer targets are starting to be identified behind the scenes. Jadon Sancho could be sold as part of a major summer shake-up. Anthony Martial is out of contract at the end of the season, and Antony continues to struggle. Manchester United view Olise as a player who could help revitalise United's woeful attack and provide a spark. I tell you what, I like Olise. I do really, really like him as a player. I thought Chelsea were going to get him in the summer. I don't really know what the situation of his contract is. I know he signed a new deal. I don't know if it's been reported. Someone can maybe let me know in the chat. Someone can let me know in the chat if not. If this has been put in there or not. But is there a release clause in his contract? Was that put in there? I was under the impression that there probably would be if he was to sign a new deal, because it looked like he was going to go with he was going to go to Chelsea, and then they pulled off re-signing him to a longer term contract. So he's a top player. He's a quality player. He scored a goal at Stamford Bridge the other day, which was a brilliant goal as well. So I'm a big fan of him. And I like, who said in the chat, someone said something about British bias. He plays for France. I mean, he's got dual nationality, but, one of those ones, isn't it? Either way, that would be a quality signing. And that's when I go back, that goes back to my original point about the summer could be exciting, and there could be room for optimism when it comes to the summer, if that proper structure is in place. If that structure is in place, if the right people are in charge of recruitment and the right people are in charge of identifying targets and negotiating for transfers, that could be quality, and he could be a top quality player. He will be expensive, no doubt about it. He'll be expensive, but I think the point they're trying to make there, or this article is trying to make, is that, and this is why January is important, and this is why I said this last summer, and it'll be the case next summer too. January transfer windows, I think as fans, we get so fixated, don't we, on incomings. We want incomings. Who's going to be the players we sign? Who's going to be players we sign? But just as important, or if not more important, when it comes to signings or incomings, are outgoings. We know that to spend big in the summer, which we can do, we can spend big, but we have to sell people first. We have to get a lot of people out of the door. We have to get a lot of people off the wage books, and that includes the likes that we just mentioned there. Jadon Sancho, sell him. If we sell Jadon Sancho, then we can do an Olise deal. If we sell, Martial's going to go anyway. That's 250k off the books. Raphael Varane, he could go in the summer. That's another £340,000 off the books. You're looking at someone like McTominay. If you sell him, 35 million, 30 to 40 million pounds. That's pure profit from an FFP perspective. There are several other players in that team that can go. Even at Manchester United, if they sell Antony, you're not going to reclaim your money, and it's going to be difficult to get him away because, what's he on, 200k a week, something like that? Gonna struggle to lower his wages, but for him to move somewhere else. But the point being is, if you've got these players off your wage books, you could bring in an Olise, absolutely. I think it'll be a case of the difficult thing you have sometimes with signing players, and this is something that United might have, and maybe I'm sort of devaluing the draw of Manchester United, is that Olise could be well within his rights to look at United this season and look at the chaos that's going on at the club, and INEOS are in and the new structure's in place and it's exciting and what have you, but go, I might give that a pass. I might wait for that one. It's all about momentum. It's all about positive momentum. So Olise, if we could sign him, fantastic signing. And again, that's not January, that's the summer. And that's what we've got to look towards, is the summer. And we should start planning our summer transfer signings now, by the way. It shouldn't be this whole, we're just, trying to, again, make up for lost time, react. That story by Laurie Whitwell not that long ago was a great example of that, when Eric Ten Hag came in and they said they had to do months of work in a matter of weeks because a lot of the due diligence on players hadn't been done, all that kind of stuff. So we should be looking towards the summer. We should be looking towards summer transfer window. I've been a big fan of Olise. It's going to be expensive. And also, that will be a real test of these new people that are ahead. That'll be a real test of these new people, rather, that are in that position, in the recruitment roles at that time, is right. You're going after a player like Olise, if this report is true. If this was the Manchester United of old, and they went after an Olise, Crystal Palace would charge like 100 million quid. They would. And United would end up paying it or something like that, ridiculous. And we'd be like, what are we doing? That is a ridiculous amount of money. Why are we spending that money? You've put too much pressure on him. He's never going to get to that standards. He's not 100 million pounds, etc., etc., etc. The real test of these recruitment people would be, can you get Olise for a decent fee? He's going to cost a lot of money. Just signed a new contract. He's at a Premier League club. We know it's going to be expensive. But can you get a fee that is reasonable? And let's face it, it's almost like the Declan Rice analogy or whoever, or the Harry Kane analogy at Bayern Munich. If they perform, it doesn't matter. If they do well and they contribute to the team and they play well, nobody cares about the fee. The only time people start caring about the fee is if they don't work out. And the important thing is then merge the two. Try and get a decent fee so that, the expectation, the scrutiny isn't super high. It's always going to be high anyway because it's a Manchester United player. But can we get a fair fee? And also, can we get a player that we know can deliver? If there's one thing about Olise that he doesn't struggle with, is confidence. The guy is a bit of a maverick. You've seen his interviews, you've seen his personality, and by all accounts, that is just him. He's not playing it up for the cameras or anything like that. Did you see when he signed his contract? He was sitting there with a bucket hat and a vest on. Like, he don't care. So I think he would be able to handle that pressure fairly well at Manchester United, in fairness. But you would say, again, get a good fee, get a profile of player that you know that mentally they can handle it, they can handle the pressure, they can perform in front of the fans, they can perform on big games, and also do it now. Do the work now. Even make contacts now. Start talking to Olise's agent or whoever's agent you're going to go for. Start it now, going, right, in the summer, would you be interested? Can we work something out? Blah, blah, blah. Start the planning now. Don't do, this long-term thing. As Victor says, give them Aaron Wan-Bissaka plus cash. Hey, why not? Why not trigger the extension for Aaron Wan-Bissaka for an extra year and say, right, you've been interested in the past. Let's work something out. Wan-Bissaka goes back. So that's interesting stuff. And again, I think that's a lot of what this sort of January window is going to be, realistically, which is a couple of loans, but realistically planning for the summer as well. Let's move on and let's talk about quickly Raphael Varane as well. I just want to double check I'm caught up with super chats. I am. We've got nearly 1,000 people watching, by the way. Really appreciate everyone that's tuned in this morning for a solo show. I know sometimes they can be a bit monologue-ish. And let's see if we can get the likes up even more. 1,000 people watching nearly. The more you click like, most likely the more viewers will tune in. That's the way that YouTube works, The like button is just that. It's the like button. So you're saying, I like this video, I like this channel, and it means more people tune in because then YouTube goes, hey, lots of people like this. Lots of people are liking this stream. Lots of people are liking this channel. Maybe I'll send it out to more people. I'll have a look round and I'll go, hey, they like Manchester United or they like football. Let me try it. It's like going to a restaurant and they go, oh, there's a bit of a blind item here. You've never tried this before. Why don't you try this? Why don't you have a plate of, they take the thing off, they go, United View. Have a United View. They go, I've never tried United View before. You go, well, it's well liked by a lot of people. So maybe you try it. Maybe you try it. And I'll go, I do like it. I like it a lot. And I go, wow, lots of other people do as well. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Yes. Where are we at? What was I going to talk about? Raphael Varane. Yes, this was quite interesting coming from Carlo Ancelotti, the Real Madrid manager. Carlo Ancelotti has ruled out the prospect of Madrid signing United defender Raphael Varane this month. Varane, of course, joined United from Real Madrid in August 2021. He's been linked with an exit from Old Trafford in recent weeks, particularly when it comes to his contract not being extended. United not using that extension clause to trigger an extra year on £340,000 a week. So it had been rumoured that possibly Varane could go back to Madrid. I think Bayern Munich have been linked with him as well. However, Ancelotti has confirmed that the La Liga club is not planning to sign a new centre-back this month. As quoted by the Metro, Ancelotti said, quote, "At the moment, we aren't considering signing another centre-back. We're lacking important players, but we have another two who we believe in, Nacho and Rudiger, two others who can play there, Tchouaméni and Carvajal. So right now, we aren't considering a signing. I'll repeat myself, yes, we won't sign." So, if you're expecting Raphael Varane to go back to Real Madrid, according to Ancelotti himself, not going to happen. Not going to happen. He's not going back there. And to be honest, despite the discussions regarding Varane and his contract, I would be quite surprised, honestly, to see him. I would be quite surprised to see him leave this window, unless, again, like a decent offer came in. Then that was always kind of the line from the club as well, wasn't it? Going, well, we've got no really interest unless someone came in and really gave us something to think about. Then yeah, we would do it. But if not, no, we wouldn't go with that. So. Yeah, I don't think Varane will go. I still kind of sit the same way that I do, though, regarding his contract and not triggering the extension. I still do think that's the right thing to do. That is the right thing to do because the wages are too high. And considering what you're getting for it, I mean, Raphael Varane is still the best centre-back, him and Martinez, the best centre-backs at the club, but 340k, it's just not reflective of value. It's not. For a player that has the injury issues and what have you. If you can re-sign him on a lesser wage, then okay, that's excellent. But 300, we need to drop down that wage bracket so much. We do, and it's because I've seen the people talking about, oh well, why did you trigger Victor Lindelof over Raphael Varane? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Victor Lindelof's on 120k a week. Raphael Varane's on 340. That's a difference of 220 grand a week. That's massive. That is absolutely massive for a player that had to retire from international football. I mean, he's not even super old, Varane. How old is he? 31. And he had to retire from international football after the World Cup last year because his body just can't keep up with it. He can't. Even last year when we were playing well, we're having to manage him. Because if you want to compete for the big trophies and you're going to be in every competition, he can't play every 3 or 4 days. He can't do that. And when you talk about like the Lindelof thing and the Varane thing, so you're saying, oh, the Victor Lindelof is a better defender than Raphael Varane. Of course I'm not. You'd have to start smelling what's in here if I was going to say that, because that's not the truth. Raphael Varane's a much better centre back than Victor Lindelof, but we're not that team. We're not that team where we can have Raphael Varane on 340k and just be like, yeah, but we've got so many great players, we've got such a great squad, and we win every single game that we can cherry pick him for the certain games at the right time. We need consistency. We need consistency of people that are playing. We need people on lower wages or more reflective wages. That's just what we need. We need to go for, younger, more consistent, and a bit more affordable. Now, that's not to say you don't keep Raphael Varane. If Raphael Varane agreed to a contract extension and took a pay cut or a wage cut, then brilliant. Then that's fantastic. But you can't keep things as they are. And I think Manchester United are right to not trigger that extension, because even if we trigger it at 340k a week, there is no guarantee we're going to be able to get rid of Raphael Varane then when he's on that kind of contract. We might find ourselves in a similar situation where we're stuck. So we just need to move on when it comes to all that kind of stuff. Now, again, I'm not opposed to keeping Varane, but it's a bit like the De Gea situation where it was the right thing not to trigger that contract. I know with Onana and it's not really working out that great with Andre Onana and all that kind of stuff. But to keep David De Gea on for an extra year at 375k a week, we just couldn't do that. Like it's just not, that's not feasible. And it's the same with Varane, £340,000 a week. Is he available all the time? No. That's it. It's basic maths when it comes to that. If Varane took 100k off his wages, and this is when you get into the territory of I don't know if he would, but if he took 100k off his wages to 240, or let's say it was like 250, which is still a massive amount of money. That's what Anthony Martial's on, £250,000 a week. That's another player you can bring in. That's another player you could bring in that we don't know what position that could be. That could be another centre back. That could be another midfielder. That could be another striker. So there's no one is doubting Raphael Varane's class or quality. but it's the right thing to do for Manchester United. But I don't expect him to leave this month. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens with him at the end of the season. He might go on a free transfer, because if he goes to a big club like Bayern Munich, I've said this before too, he'll do really well there. Of course he will. They've got several top quality centre-backs. He doesn't have to play every single game. So he can play big Champions League games for Bayern Munich, and people can then say, oh, United in the mud. See, this is what you could have had at United. And you go, well, but we couldn't, because we're not there. We're not in that territory. We need a centre-back that can play every single game, or near enough every single game. We need consistency. But as it stands right now, you just can't do anything about that. Alien says, Olise links. We've discussed it. We have. Yes, that was the news coming out this morning. So if you do want to see the Olise stuff, you can rewind back into the video as well. And just finally, this was just a story that was going yesterday. So Jim Ratcliffe was at Old Trafford yesterday for the first time since his acquisition was confirmed. There were pictures of him around the club. He was reported to be having meetings. He was there with Sir Dave Brailsford, Jean-Claude Blanc, who's expected to be the next CEO. Reportedly, they met senior club figures, holding several meetings. Ratcliffe is going to make efforts to understand the club better and meet more staff in the coming weeks as the Premier League completes its owners and directors test as well. So that was kind of the story there. But if you have just tuned in, so maybe the biggest story this morning really was the Olise stuff. So once again, if you haven't already, let's just go through this Olise story once again for people that are just joining us, because they might be tuning in and saying, Olise, why are you not talking about Olise? Talk, Owen, talk. Manchester United are interested in making Crystal Palace winger Michael Olise one of the first signings of the Sir Jim Ratcliffe era at Old Trafford. This comes from, is it Nizar? Is that how you say it? Nizar Kinsella from The Standard, which is a London-based outlet. A move for Olise has been ruled out in January, so for people thinking, we're going to sign Olise by the end of the month, we're going to get him. No, it's most likely going to be the summer if that was to happen. Manchester United have identified the winger as a transfer target ahead of a planned overhaul of their squad at the end of the season. This is part of a wider audit of the transfer structure at Manchester United, which is being audited by Sir Dave Brailsford at the moment, which will take time, but potential summer targets are starting to be identified behind the scenes. In addition to that, significant departures are expected. Jadon Sancho could be sold as part of a major summer shake-up. Anthony Martial is out of contract at the end of the season, and Anthony continues to struggle. That's all they say with that. That's all they say with that. Anthony continues to struggle. So I don't know if they necessarily mean, that means he's going to be sold or what have you, but they just say Anthony continues to struggle. United view Olise as a player who could help revitalise United's woeful attack and provide a spark. What's interesting is that Taberslow here says Olise isn't coming. Be realistic. I think it's realistic to go after Olise in the summer. I mean, Chelsea were near enough going to get him, and they finished mid-table last year. And the only reason eventually that it died down is because Olise decided to sign a new contract at Palace, and he's probably right to avoid that move in the end. But he's a top quality player, so I would say Olise is a realistic signing. I mean, he could go to any top club, and I think that the interesting thing for him would be is that if other clubs are interested, because if a Champions League club is interested in Olise, then we'll be in trouble. We will. But Chelsea in the summer looked to have that deal they thought they had it over the line. Didn't happen, and then they ended up getting Cole Palmer instead. That one is a possibility, certainly in the summer. Taberslow says, why would he come to a club which doesn't have Champions League football? Because he nearly went to a club without Champions League football in the summer, which is Chelsea. They're not going to have it again. Part of it would be money, and again, part of it's being sold on the project too, isn't it? And that's where we get into the recruitment side of things again, isn't it? That's where we get into, if you've got effective sporting directors, if you've got effective people in the recruitment side, then when they're in those negotiations, when they're in those talks with the player and the agent and the club, they sell them on that. Things are different now. We're going to be in the Champions League at the end of the season. We're going to be competing. We've got a new structure. We've got INEOS are in charge. They might have a new manager at that point as well. It's still Manchester United. We've got these plans. It's funny what momentum can do for you. It is. I mean, I know that those signings didn't work out, but we signed Casemiro. We weren't in the Champions League. Granted, we had to put him on a shit ton of money, which wasn't the right move. But if you've got effective people in the recruitment department, a young up-and-coming player, There's no reason to say you can't get them. There's no reason to say you can't get them. It's just going to be a case of if other clubs are interested, to be honest with you. That's going to be the situation. So either way, we'll have to wait and see. But there you go, guys. That's the latest transfer news for you this morning. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Reminder, there's a lot going on right now when it comes to transfer news with Manchester United. There's a lot going on with, yesterday was a crazy one. There was Sancho, there was Reguilon, there were strikers, there was all that kind of stuff. So if we have anything else, of course, we'll let you know, either being live or recording a video or something like that. So if you haven't already subscribed, click the notification bell. You'll be notified when a new video or a new stream goes live. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll speak to you again very soon. I'm out of here. Peace.